It's dark. It's ominous. It's the Zack Snyder trilogy. It's the all or nothing. For Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, whatever the title is.
Yeah.
I guess it's just called Snyder Cut, probably.
Yeah, the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, after the open rolls, we will talk about the ill-fated plans of one Zack Snyder for Superman over 3 films. Zack Snyder, I don't believe ever planned on making a universe. That's my opinion. Man of Steel did not feel like the jumping off point for a shared anything. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, per se. It's just, it didn't feel like anybody, anything was happening in such a way as to know, oh, Cyborg, Flash, Wonder Woman, yada yada, Batman, everybody exists, right? I know that it's presumptive to say, I feel like James Gunn is already setting the ground rules for there to be a world, but let's be real, James Gunn's already setting up all the pieces so as to make it make sense that there is a larger world than just Superman, although it helps that Creature Commandos came first and Peacemaker came before that, and the Suicide. I'm not sure if that's acknowledged or not, but my point is there are pieces of the puzzle out there. But my point is, while watching Man of Steel, I didn't feel like there was a larger world. And again, not that I'm saying that's a bad thing. There have been books, Superman books, I've read, even bought and gave out to people that didn't really acknowledge other heroes, like Earth 1 Superman. It didn't go out of its way to say, hey, there are 1,000,001 other heroes, or this, that, other. It was just a straightforward, here's Clark and who he is. And might I tell you, that was a really good telling of who Clark is. As a matter of fact, it's also a really good telling of Kryptonians coming to Earth wanting a Kryptonian. And lo and behold, we don't end with a bunch of buildings falling with Superman's first introduction, which is one of my biggest gripes about Man of Steel, is his, Superman's, introduction to the world is also Zod and the evil Kryptonians' introduction to the world, which then can easily be misinterpreted that all of these aliens are creating this chaos, not that, because like in Superman 2, for instance, right? Superman had already had a long established history of being the protector. Now granted, in Superman 2, he gave up his powers, and the Phantom Zone opened, these bad guys showed up, and they're doing bad things. But there was never any confusion as to which side Superman's on, because he had already been established, which is, I think, is such a pivotal part of that story and what is missing from this. So we, as the audience, see that Clark, the man, the human, saved people in an oil tanker. That's what it was, right?
Yes, correct.
And a few other things, here, there, and whatever. But even young Clark saves a school bus of students, right? Or his fellow students. But even that got his dad upset with him, which made me upset with Jonathan. My point is, when the world doesn't know Superman, you can't let their first introduction to him be the destruction of both Smallville and Metropolis. So that's why I get very frustrated thinking about this film.
Yeah. Actually, this is very interesting because I never thought about it that way.
Because I think it's easier to forgive him if you already know him.
Right.
But if you don't know him and then this is how you meet him, it's like, the heck?
My whole thing with even this Superman, Henry Cavill Superman, is, and I think this is an issue just with all the films, I don't think that the movie was, or Zack Snyder was interested even talking or developing Clark Kent or this Superman, not to the way that it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was more fascinated or interested with the idea of how everybody else thinks about him.
Okay, that's a fine argument, and that actually explains why that he wouldn't feel that the world needs to know him.
Right. I because the way that I keep looking at it, it's everybody's reaction to this being.
Yeah.
And it's just like in this film, the military.
Yes.
I think the military is already, in the beginning of the film, already given prominence. You know, people said, come on, why would these two military dudes in a bar talk about this alien spaceship out in the open, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and just so happens, you know, contrived, sure, already has a strong military presence. So it's the military's idea about this superhuman being
Yeah.
and their interactions with him. And like to your point, and I actually do agree, I didn't think about that, but yeah, your first interaction to this being can't be where there's already mass destruction.
Exactly. Well, I made the argument to a friend recently. I said, while my snap judgment isn't always accurate, it's always relevant to how I initially feel about somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a really good first interaction, then it helps flavor or you know, change the way that you see things in the future. Like, let's say somebody's having a bad day, you're like, oh, well, I know that's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And conversely, if your first interaction is bad, then it kind of also taints the way that you see things going forward. Because like, oh, that wasn't a good.
Yeah, that wasn't good interaction.
And I used an actual day that you and I had. I told him about this day we were playing a game where it was like, oh, can you guess this person's name as they're walking up? And then you get it right. And I said, hey, do you want to hear a funny story? And the guy's like, no. And then walks off.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that makes the story even better.
Yeah.
But my point is, because he was abrasive and jarring, it's like, oh, that's now what you think of him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if he would have been jovial and said, oh, yeah, tell me a funny story, then it also changes the way you see people.
Yes. Oh, and something that we talked about Superman Returns and this Superman is, and I think in this weird way it works simply because Clark Kent's father?
Jonathan?
Yeah, Jonathan
Or Jor-El?
Kent. Jonathan Kent.
Okay.
Is this idea of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because this version, or Henry Cavill's in this movie, I don't think he really likes being necessarily Superman.
It doesn't feel like it, no.
It does.
Well, I think it comes from the fact that Jonathan Kent is scared for people to know that he has powers.
Correct. Yes.
And Martha Kent, while she's not blatantly saying don't, she's not encouraging whatsoever. And I'll be honest, I actually much prefer when Martha is the one who makes the suit for him, like in plenty of comics and Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. I just feel like it's such a humanizing way to see an alien character.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, not only does Martha not make the suit, but it is ultra alien.
Yes.
And it's a gift from his space dad.
Dad, yes. Actually, let's go to the beginning. So something that I did like is we saw the destruction of Krypton.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's pretty.
Yes, it is pretty.
I thought the whole artificial womb thing was interesting. Like the creatures, I thought the creatures were cool. Like, yeah, there are a lot of good visual elements. I thought Zod was chewing up the scenery, but you know, the best possible way.
Find him! Something that's very interesting is, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. What made Clark so special was that he was the first birth.
Yep.
Not from a test tube.
Exactly.
In like, what, 200 plus years?
Something, a long
or
time.
something crazy like that. And it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Absolutely.
And you know, the father, I guess it's everybody's, that's why I said it's everybody's expectations put on him rather than Clark trying to be his own individual. It's weird because no one has really tackled Superman in that way. It's always been about the man instead of everybody else's.
Yeah. And again, so it's a choice. It was a choice that was made.
Yeah.
But I just prefer J. Michael Straczynski's version, the Earth 1 Superman, where Clark is both intelligent, athletic, he's good at basically anything. And so he's getting scholarships for baseball and education and all that stuff. And then it's his heart that makes him choose to be the hero, not pursue the ego. You know, it's just like with Spider-Man. great power, great responsibility thing. He goes out to make money as a wrestler, and then Uncle Ben dies, and he's like, "Oh, I made the wrong decision." It's like I just prefer that over, like you said, feeling like it's thrust upon
right,
Clark here.
Like it was his destiny. Jor-El said like, "Oh, where we're gonna send him to his wife?" He's like, "Oh, basically to Earth." And it's like, what if he's like, "Oh, they can't really stop him." It's like he already knew that if he sent his son here, he was gonna basically be indestructible.
Yeah.
Instead of having, well, almost by accident, like this man and just falling onto the farm with two of the nicest people that you could ever meet.
What's crazy, because I like Kevin Costner and Diane Lane visually. I think they fit really well both together and as Jonathan and Martha. But again, Jonathan just feels so alien to me. Maybe more alien than Clark himself because of his fear. Like that part is just what bothers me.
Instead of dying from cancer or heart attack,
it
was a tornado.
Which Clark could have easily saved.
Yes, and that's why he was like, no, but it's like, I don't think, it was such an interesting choice. It was like, I get it. If he comes to save him, everybody will know that his son's a superhero, and who knows. But it's like,
it's also a tornado. How much you actually looking?
Looking,
like,
right.
You could be more caring about what's happening to you than some random other guy in the town.
Yeah. It was an interesting choice that...
I'm not a fan of that choice.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it because to me it makes more sense that this is something that Superman can't save.
Correct, and in this case he could have. That's why the heart attack one's so much better, because it's like he can't stop
do
that.
It, right? No matter his strength, no matter how fast he is, he can't do anything.
Correct.
When I first saw this movie, I was in love with it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the best superhero movie like of all time. And rewatching it now, I'm like, oh, okay, it don't hold up that.
The first time I watched it in theaters, there were things I was in awe of beauty-wise, Krypton being one of them. But I came away from the movie feeling confused and uncertain as to why that I wasn't into it, right? And so then I watched it again, because that's what you do when you don't understand. You're trying to figure it out. And then that's when I figured out that this isn't Superman. I mean, in the simplest of terms, it's not. There were too many missing elements for me to feel like it was Superman, and so to me, that's why that I give this a 1 out of 5 stars. I think it's a fail of a movie because of all the elements it's missing.
Yeah. Okay, I forgot to add this. What this movie fails to do is it was trying to me copy the Batman Begins structure. Beginning. Back and forth cuts between Bruce and Clark's past when they were little kids.
It's true.
But
do you know why that is?
Oh, what?
So David Goyer wrote this movie when he should have been writing Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that he had what had been successful on his mind. I presume that's the case, is what led to the similarities.
But the thing that Batman Begins does so well is, one, set up the characters that's going to be important.
Yep.
His past to now before he left. But two, it sets up the core elements of who Bruce Wayne is, for his morality, what he cares about, what he fights for, his mistakes.
Yep.
It expertly goes back and forth to his training with Ra's al Ghul and how that is affecting his thinking pattern, his mindset, but he can never cross that line because of the things that we learn. So when he's just saying, hey, just kill this dude, why? Yep. Why does it matter? No, he's a thief. He robbed people. I'm not going to kill him. We understand the reason why.
Correct.
But Clark Kent, we don't really understand anything about him.
I don't think they understood.
Yeah.
Is the real fact of the matter. So what is your score for Man of Steel? Here's the funny thing. While you think about it, we didn't even talk about the neck break, because to me, the neck break is only the terrible cherry on top of the messed up sundae. Like that's not what makes it wrong. It's all the events that lead
To it. Yeah. It's like
because by the time you've got there, it's like, oh, he's already not Superman. So what difference does it make at this point?
Like, I think today people might criticize the Batman Begins ending. I'm not going to kill you,
but I don't
have to save you, and then flies away, because everybody knows, well, Batman will actually save Ra's al Ghul before, but the story expertly tells the reason why, and it's like, did Batman make a bad choice? Is that killing somebody just because? But we understand that this dude is not going to stop.
Correct.
So it's like it lays the foundation expertly well
I agree.
for what's going to happen. Superman breaking Zod's neck, it's just, well, okay, yes, the family's there, but there were easily other alternatives.
Yeah, go up. Yeah. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more. But most importantly, the story itself.
I'll give this movie a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
There are still elements. I think it's still beautiful and gorgeous to look at.
Sure.
I do like Henry Cavill as Superman, but it lays the foundation for BVS and what I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So here's what I'll say about Batman versus Superman, and more importantly, Zack Snyder. Period.
Mm. Just
like you said, you think the criticisms of Superman Returns is what led to the choices made in Man of Steel. I think that the criticisms of Man of Steel are really what led to the choices being made in BVS.
Mm-hmm.
And to some degree, for the better. To some degree.
Yeah.
Because returning to the multiple 9/11s of Man of Steel in the beginning of Batman vs. Superman paints Bruce in such a pristine light. It makes him look like the best hero there is. Even not in costume. It's like, that's a hero right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, after that, we get a whole lot of nonsense with the killing of Jimmy Olsen and Bruce then kind of killing nonchalantly or almost. I don't know if he's legit killing, but he's definitely not the same guy that was just out here saving lives. He's just very.
Oh yeah, he's killing people.
He's very rough.
Yeah,
he's very rough.
Yeah,
It's like in Arkham Asylum where it's like you beat him so much that they fall. It's like, are you sure that he's alive? Oh, he's fine.
Yeah. It's like, I think I closed his windpipe with that shield. I think he's dead. Oh, I hit him with this Batmobile. This thing weighs 600 pounds, and it's like, no, he got electrocuted.
Exactly.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Like, okay.
So again, like I said, there's a big disconnect between the Bruce and the Batman, and oh my goodness, you talk about disconnects. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is not Lex Luthor. It's very Joker. It's very Riddler. It's very what's the name of the guy from Facebook? Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, and that's what.
Yeah, he's very not Lex Luthor. Is the point of the story.
Yeah, I do like in this element that he doesn't like Superman because he finds it, like he says, paradoxical. Mm-hmm. Someone this powerful, this strong, doesn't want any sort of power. To him, that doesn't make any logical sense.
Well, that's
a Zod.
Lex. Yeah, it's similar but different to Brian Azzarello's writing of a very good Lex Luthor story, where Lex is mad at the concept of Superman because he thinks it is going to prevent humans from trying to achieve, because we're never going to get that far, so they're just going to be lethargic and not try.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I don't dislike his motivations as much as I do dislike his characterizations and his visualizations. So
yeah, oh yeah, it's just I can't even.
You're fine.
Add to that.
Yeah.
Because it's 100%. It's just I don't know. He's just whiny.
Yes.
That's what the thing, and that Lex doesn't ever seem whiny.
Shouldn't be. No.
Yeah.
One of the things that made Gene Hackman stand out was his intellect,
mm-hmm.
and while Jesse's Lex is told to us is smart, like you said, he's just too whiny to really get behind him in that.
Yeah, and his plan doesn't make any sense. Like from the start, so he knew Lois was going to be in like basically Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
So he paid somebody to kidnap Lois and Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy dies. He knew that Superman was going to come and save Lois because he always does.
Right.
And then the people are shooting, so it makes it seem like Superman, but it's like the bodies will have bullet holes. So then that's why like Congress or whatever is holding that meeting.
Yeah.
And then he knew that somehow Batman would get upset enough to finally like come out of retirement.
Yeah, it's very convoluted.
Yeah, it's convoluted where it's like, okay, this is doing way too much for this story.
Yes.
That's very simple. I think that's...
Well, and that's the thing is, like, had it been simple, had it been straightforward, had it not had Lex Luthor, I think if it was just Batman versus, like, and maybe have Lex, but don't have him have this storyline.
Yeah.
Maybe is the better way of stating it. But, like, yeah. It's complicated. It's really hard to get this out. But I'll say
it's two versions, kind of, too. That cut out, yeah, and it still doesn't add. It makes things more clearer about certain things, but it doesn't. Like,
it's not as dramatic as the internet will lead you to believe.
Yes, where it's like, oh, this is much better. It's like, nah, not really.
Not really. Yeah. So I'll just straight out say I give this one a 2 out of 5. I think it's completely passable in every respect you want to look at it. So it passes, quote unquote, the test by improving upon the bad that they did. However, it also is very passable because I've only rewatched this once. Unlike Man of Steel that I had to investigate and understand and try and figure out what I did and didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Batman vs. Superman, I watched one time. I didn't pay to watch it in theaters. I didn't buy it on DVD. I watched it because it was given to me as a gift, and I was like, well, I'll watch it now. I watched it one time, and I was like, okay, you improved upon mistakes, but the mistakes still happen. I don't ever need to watch this again.
Yeah. To me, I give this movie a 1. And the reason why is it rushes through everything.
Mm-hmm.
It does what I don't like about superhero movies, where it seems like someone reads like the cliff notes of superhero stories, the most famous ones, and tries to mesh together.
Well, and how many times are like, oh, look how comic accurate it is with a still, and then everything around that still has nothing to do with the character.
Right.
It's like, shut up.
And it adds the death of Superman.
Oh, that is so bad.
And that's what threw me off. It's like, you just wasted.
Well, I'm so glad you said that they had the death of Superman, because Zod becomes Doomsday, and here's why. Just like with the end of Man of Steel leading into BVS, the end of BVS is what creates the catalyst event for Justice League, because the death of Superman is what tells the plane of existence of Apocalypse is now time to strike.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we met Wonder Woman in BVS, Apocalypse didn't care, Darkseid didn't care, none of them cared about Wonder Woman. They didn't care about Batman, they only cared about Superman, because with him alive, they're like, we ain't touching it.
Yep. They knew that, hey, this guy can stop us.
Exactly. Yeah. But with his death, the bell tolls and they're called in and big time stuff goes down. And so, before we even go into any talk about Zack Snyder's 4-hour cut of Justice League, I'm going to say I gave it a completely fine 3 out of 5 stars. And so, the reason I bring that up is because each film built upon the mess of the prior to make it make sense. Does that make any of them great? No. Are any of them good? I also say no. And with that, none of them stay in existence with my canon because they didn't all get 3 or above.
Mm-hmm.
But
now this one where we differ on, because to me, and this is where I always will preface this. I'm not sure because I saw Josh Whedon's Justice League in theaters.
I didn't see it in theaters, but I did see it first.
Okay, and I did see this. I saw that movie first in theaters, and then I saw the Snyder Cut version. I enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I give it like a 5.
That's cool. The funny thing is, I ain't even mad about it. Like, I know people that'll be like, oh, it's the best thing ever, or it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
But my thing is, as long as we're able to be civil about it, I don't care what your opinion is, because I don't need you to have the same opinion as me. As a matter of fact, I enjoy when people have different opinions. You know that from Peacemaker.
Yes. Great content.
Yeah, great content. Yes.
Yes.
Like I said, I can see the positives and the improvements. My biggest detriment is the foundation this house is built on.
Yes, it is very shady. The thing that they did wrong in those 2 previous films is the person's barely even in it.
Yep.
That's Superman.
Yep.
And when Superman finally shows up, it is about hope. Like, because they were good.
It took us a while, but we got there.
It finally did that. Yes, even though I didn't like that they did the death of Superman, I do love that
the purpose.
Yeah, the purpose. It's like, okay, the bells are ringing and everything making sense, and you're like, oh, okay, this is. I don't like that, but
and like I said, I think that is my biggest praise for Zack Snyder or David Goyer or whoever the person who deserves the praise is the concept of learning. Now, does that make up for the mistakes? No, but that's why each film I progressively give a higher score, because I was like, oh, you learned something, and I'm proud of you for it.
Yeah, and this movie finally seems like it was actually like an epic of what Zack Snyder was trying to do, or maybe it just seems like all of the Zack Snyder mess ups he finally got right in here.
Oh yeah.
And something that Josh Whedon does that I kind of don't like, and maybe it's just me. People always say like, yeah, well, you know, when you have all these strong mindset people, they're always going to argue. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. I'm like, if people respect each other, they understand like, hey, we're going to have different opinions. You can still work together in a common goal.
100%.
And to me, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, which has like the best 10 minutes with his intro, where I understand why the actor Ray Fisher was mad Josh Whedon's version came out, but Ben Affleck was at his best.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, his recruiting stuff.
Yes,
good times.
Was good stuff, and even Aquaman. It's like they finally seem like, oh wow, these A personalities are coming together and they're competent.
Yes.
They're not arguing. Like, yes, they have disagreements, but they quickly realize, oh, okay, yes,
we're on the same side.
Yeah, we're on the same side. There's no should we play God here and bring back this dead person? No, we shouldn't, but we're out of options because this alien just took out basically the whole Amazon of Wonder Woman. Yeah. And we fought him, and it was hard. Yeah. And we almost lost.
We screwed.
Yeah. Yes. And, you know, even the iconography of, like, the Flash doing, like, it's like, wow, this finally showed, like...
Yeah, this version of Flash is Ezra Miller's best Flash, and I mean compared to Whedon's cut and also his own movie.
Yes.
Because the Flash movie was hot garbage, and the Whedon cut was tried to be played for laughs, but I didn't think it was that funny.
Funny, yeah. He was trying to be like Spider-Man-esque, but he was just corny.
Yeah, it was a bad choice.
Yeah. Like, this, what I really love, and maybe the ending is just what makes it for me, they actually lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Flash having to save the day.
Yes.
You know, he's like, oh crap. He saw the explosion, they lose. He does his thing where he vibrates and, you know, to absorb blast or phase right through it. And then he runs so fast, and it's like, oh, okay, this is making sense with his father and stuff like that. It's just, and maybe this is a problem with Zack Snyder, but it seems like to make his movies work, or these movies work, he needs about 3.5 hours to 4 hours to make something work. And that...
Well, isn't that interesting? So, think about it this way. And you weren't here for one of my earliest videos of Eternals from Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But in it, and always, I say, I think Eternals would have benefited from being a limited series as opposed to being 10 characters packed into a large movie, but still not large enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that perhaps there's an argument to be made that Zack Snyder would have done better with, let's say, 4 to 5 seasons of trying to tell a story. That way he has time to let it all breathe, make it make sense, and you can introduce us to Clark, Superman, all these things before destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think you're right that he does require time, because when it came to Watchmen, it was a long movie too.
Yes.
Mistakes were made.
Yes.
But still, it's a long movie is the point.
Yeah. But yeah, and any movie that's basically 4 hours long, and they can make me just sit there and watch the whole thing, and I can really see where Josh Whedon's version, for whatever reason, there's multiple reports, but where he really screwed up on, like big time. Where I'm like, how did you get that from this? It's like, why you guys should have just, if you're gonna do Josh Whedon's version, you should have just scrapped whatever Zack Snyder did and just make your own version, because I don't. To me, these two films can almost be studied on two different directors and the styles, and how you can't just plug in a director and just go like, hey, this is gonna be better. Like, you can't do David Fincher and Steven Spielberg together. Both very competent, but they have two distinctive styles.
Right.
And I don't. Yeah.
But I appreciate you. Thanks a lot for talking about this trilogy, because I know Zach had intended to do much more, but this is what we get and what we got, and so
yeah, I'm happy it ended.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there are things about the DC extended universe I enjoyed. Shazam, for instance. Loved Shazam. I thought Shazam was top quality stuff. Aquaman, top quality stuff. But there were far more misses than I felt like there were hits, and so I'm glad that we're just starting fresh and new with James Gunn.